Single dad CEO discovers hidden love as Maid's incredible ACT pretends to be his fake girlfriend. Jake stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie with trembling hands. The rain drizzled against his apartment windows, matching the chaotic storm in his heart. Single dad, CEO, and now, he needed to defend himself against the scrutinizing eyes of the elite. The annual charity gala was only a week away, and everyone expected him to show up with a perfect girlfriend. He clenched his jaw, the pressure squeezing his chest tighter. He felt alone, drowning in a sea of social expectations while raising his vibrant, energetic daughter, Lily, all by himself. The phone buzzed, snapping him from his thoughts. "Daddy!" Lily shouted from the living room, her laughter spilling through the house like sunlight. She burst in, rain-soaked from the day's storm, her cheeks rosy from the cold, the warmth of joy radiating off her tiny frame. "Can we eat pancakes for dinner?" She beamed, her big brown eyes sparkling. Jake chuckled, shaking his head at her adorable persistence. "Yeah, all right, kiddo, pancakes it is." He forgot the gala, forgot the looming judgment. In those moments, Lily reminded him of what truly mattered. But as laughter echoed against the kitchen walls, the shadows of loneliness crept back. A few days later, an unexpected twist landed on his doorstep. Maria, a kind-hearted maid with a contagious smile, entered his life amid a cleaning service mix-up. She approached her work with contagious zeal, dusting and tidying with a transformative sense of purpose. Jake found her resilience stirring something deep within him. Each day Maria infused his chaotic world with quiet laughter and kindness, effortlessly breaking through the tough shell that had formed from years of isolation. "Are you okay, Jake?" Maria asked one afternoon, concern etching her features. He swallowed hard, the tension coiling inside him. "Just trying to keep everything together," he admitted, staring past her. She replied with a small, warm smile, and for a brief moment, the weight of the world slipped away. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the gala loomed closer, desperation brewed within him. "Maria, you've got to help me," he blurted out one evening after all hope dwindled. "Honestly, could you pretend to be my girlfriend?" Maria laughed softly. "Are you serious? Just for one night? My colleagues expect perfection. You'll bring joy," he pleaded. To his surprise, she agreed, excitement dancing in her eyes. What began as mere pretense soon transformed their lives together. The gala turned into a whirlwind of misunderstandings and laughter. They found themselves connecting deeper than mere appearances, two souls navigating the same storm, craving belonging amid societal expectations. But within the chaos of their connection, cracks began to show. Rumors festered, and a rival CEO unveiled the truth of their facade, leaving Jake suspended between loyalty and public opinion. Standing there, heart racing, he faced the judgmental stares of his peers, and at that moment, he realized how fragile life as constructs really were. Could love truly transcend everything? Would societal expectations shatter what he was beginning to believe in more than wealth, the power of love? As their worlds collided, uncertainties loomed. The question lingered. What would Jake choose, fear or the heart's desire? The gala was just around the corner, and Jake felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He paced the apartment, clutching a cup of coffee, his thoughts tumbling like loose papers in a windstorm. His heart ached at the thought of what might happen if they were found out. Edges of insecurity and doubt started to gnaw at him. "Daddy, are you coming to help with my science project?" Lily's cheerful voice cut through the haze. She peeked around the corner, her little fingers gripping a huge poster board. Innocent and hopeful, she looked up at him. "Of course. I'll be right there," he replied, his heart swelling. No matter how naughty his life became, Lily was his anchor. As he shifted his focus back to the task at hand, Maria floated into the kitchen, her lightness chasing away the shadows. "What are we working on?" she asked, her eyes sparkly with delight. "Just something incredibly dull," Jake teased, ruffling Lily's hair. "I can help too. I love science." Maria replied. The enthusiasm in her voice was infectious. She wasn't just helping him. She was breathing life back into moments he thought were forever lost to routine. They gathered at the dining table, making colorful displays and cute diagrams, laughing at little jokes that made Lily squeal with delight. In that tiny kitchen, a different kind of magic brewed, one that blurred the lines between the roles they initially defined. Unable to resist, Jake snuck glances at Maria, absorbing the way she engaged with his daughter. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, authentic and pure. But when the laughter faded, Jake's thoughts returned to the gala. Would this charade lead him closer to what his heart leaned towards? Or would it tear apart their fragile happiness? Hey, Jake? Maria's voice punctured his spiraling thoughts. Do you really want me to do this? We could always back out. People might not understand. No, I want to do this, Jake urgently replied, perhaps more to himself than her. Besides, you've made it fun. You make it easier to breathe, he added, hoping she could glimpse the vulnerability behind his bravado. Their eyes locked momentarily, and he felt a shift. It was a flicker of understanding, something deeper stirring beneath their surface-level layers. But reminders of the doubts crept back. He had a daughter to protect, a reputation to uphold. What if this tangle led to heartache? The day of the gala dawned bright, but strangely foreboding. Both nervous and excited, he dressed carefully, slipping on the tailored suit that had not seen much use since before Lily was born. In so many ways, Jake was still trying to fit into a life that felt foreign amongst the glimmers of wealth and pretense. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow through the curtains, Maria arrived dressed in a stunning gown that sparkled with each movement. She transformed, appearing as if she belonged to a different world. Wow, breathed Lily, her eyes wide with admiration. You look like a princess, Maria? Jake's heart stuttered. She looked radiant but also human, unlike the faceless women of high society. Thank you, Lily, Maria said with a soft smile. And in that moment, Jake's mind teetered on the edge of realization. Maybe they weren't just faking a relationship. As the gala unfolded, they stepped into a realm of laughter, music, and swirling lights. Yet in the back of his mind, the questions remained. Would this fleeting act lead to something real, or would he lose both the love he found and the daughter who needed him? Staring at the crowds and their expectant gazes, Jake felt the ground shifting beneath him. Maybe everything would change tonight. As he turned to Maria, a serious thought flashed. Did he dare to embrace what his heart whispered? Just as he was about to voice it, a loud gasp erupted from the crowd behind him. He blinked, tinged with panic as he turned. What had happened now? Who or what could unravel the delicate tether they had just begun to weave? Jake's heart raced as he spun around to see the source of the gasp. It was a crowd of well-dressed guests, eyes wide, collectively pointing towards the entrance. He squinted through the throng, trying to discern what had captured their attention so completely. Then he saw her, a woman at the door, dressed in an elegant gown that looked strangely familiar. But what sent chills down his spine was not her attire, but the look on her face, an expression of shock and betrayal, as if she had just walked in on something she wasn't meant to see. Is that? Maria's voice barely rose above the din, her grip tightening on his arm. He could feel the tension swirling around them, a shared confusion growing with each passing second. Lila, he breathed, his ex-wife's name slipping out before he could stop it. She hadn't been in the picture for years, long before he began to build a life without her. And yet here she stood, back in the life he had cobbled together, the life he thought had moved on. Jake could feel the breath leaving his lungs. Lila had always been the light in his life, and yet, this reunion was anything but welcome. The gala's elegant decor felt suddenly suffocating, each brilliant light overhead casting harsh shadows that magnified the uncertainty clouding his heart. Is that your? Maria started, but Jake cut her off, shaking his head, trying to keep the panic at bay. It doesn't matter. It's complicated. Complicated? Lila strode closer, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. Her eyes locked onto Jake, a mixture of disbelief and pain crossing her features. You didn't even tell me you were back in town, let alone this. She gestured between him and Maria, her voice a sharp whisper that barely contained the storm. Jake's stomach twisted. He needed to scan the crowd, to see how people were responding to this unexpected scene. He caught glimpses of familiar faces, now painted with curiosity and judgment. The sanctity of the evening shattered in an instant. Laughter and chatter faded into a low murmur, all eyes drawn to the unfolding drama. "Lila, please," he implored, stepping forward. "I can explain this is what you do now?" She shot back, voice rising. "You just pretend to be a family with Yes, not just a pretend girlfriend," Maria interrupted fiercely, stepping parallel to Jake, facing Lila with an unexpected strength. "Yes, helping him more than you ever did." The fire in Maria's words shocked Jake, leaving him momentarily speechless. For a moment, it was like watching a different side of her emerge, brave and fiercely protective, brandishing a truth he hadn't recognized until now. Lila glanced at Maria, taken aback by the sudden defense. "You," she hissed, contempt lacing her voice. "You think you know him? Better than you do," Maria replied, standing her ground. Jake couldn't help but feel the rising tide of resentment in the air, a current that threatened to pull them all under. As the murmurs of the crowd grew louder, a sick feeling gripped him. He caught the gaze of several guests, eyebrows raised, cameras ready. This could be the story of the night, and who would be left standing when the dust cleared? "Let us leave," Maria urged quietly, her voice steady despite the turmoil surrounding them. Jake looked at her, seeing the spark of resilience, the fire that had captured his heart all those days ago. But could he walk away? Could he really ditch his past for a chance at something that felt right? "I can't," he finally said, glancing back at Lila. "Not yet." "Jake, she's your past," Maria said softly, her expression shifting from strength to concern. "What is more important, being a father or clinging to what you think you owe her?" The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, like the weight of choices yet to be made. Jake shot a pleading look at Maria, his heart silently begging for her understanding. And then he turned back to face Lila, searching for words, any words that could bridge the gap of their shared history. Before he could speak, another gasp echoed through the room, this time louder, more frantic. "What now?" he thought, dread creeping in as he prepared for another twist in their already chaotic night. Jake turned abruptly as the gasp echoed through the crowd. The tension hung thick in the air, a living thing, and he felt every eye in the room battening down on him, as if he were a mouse caught in a trap. What else could go wrong? He thought bitterly, heart pounding. He had just managed to get a grip over one chaos, only to have another spring up in its place. The crowd parted, murmurs shifting and twisting, gossip flowing like a stream. And then he saw it. A figure emerging through the crowd, a girl, no more than 16, her face pale with shock. "Mom," she cried, rushing in as if drowning, arms outstretched toward Lila. The world froze for a heartbeat. Disbelief coated the room, wrapping it in an awkward silence that stung like exposed nerves. Jake's breath hitched as he processed the scene unfolding before him. Lila's expression morphed into shock, and for a moment, her fierce facade dropped, revealing a vulnerability that felt almost foreign. She knelt down, teetering on her heels, arms instinctively reaching for the girl. "Alex?" she whispered, voice trembling. Jake's world tilted. "Alex? Mom, I thought you weren't coming. What happened?" The girl wrapped her arms tightly around Lila, squeezing her as if afraid she would vanish again. Lila returned the embrace fiercely, her eyes glistening with suppressed tears. A rush of memories flooded Jake's mind. Those years spent without Lila felt like a distant echo. The shared dreams, laughter, and the child they had once hoped to bring into the world. "I can't believe this," he muttered, feeling like a phantom in his own life. "What is going on?" Maria's voice broke through the fog. They stood side by side, still anchored in the chaos, eyes wide with confusion. I think Jake hesitated, unsure of what truth he could even piece together in front of everyone. Lila's eyes flickered to him, a crack of recognition sparking, a glance filled with anger, yet edged with worry. She was torn between being a mother and the woman who had loved Jake. As the crowd began to buzz with fresh excitement over the revelation, Jake's mind raced. Alex? A daughter he never knew existed? He felt a mix of anger and shock rising in his throat. Why hadn't Lila told him? "I wanted to hide it to protect you both," Lila finally managed, her voice breaking even more. "I just couldn't deal with it then. I thought it was for the best." "For who, Lila? You or her?" Jake's voice was raw, echoing a lifetime of unresolved resentment. Maria squeezed his hand tighter, a grounding presence amidst the swirling emotions. I made mistakes, but don't put this on me, Lila shot back, eyes blazing. What's best for her is to know her dad, Jake countered, heart beating wildly at the thought of his daughter being right here, right now. She was more than a stranger. A blood tie threatened to explode the fragile life he had rebuilt. Alex's head turned, wide eyes filled with uncertainty and fear as they shifted from Lila to Jake. Is he my dad? Air whooshed out of Jake. The question hung heavy in the air, trembling like a live wire. He looked down at Alex, this innocent girl who had been dragged into a storm of adult mistakes. Could he anchor her in this chaos? Could he be what she needed, even as his own heart reeled? Jake was about to speak when the moment was cut by yet another voice rising above the others. A voice sharp and accusing. Of course he is. Don't you get it, Lila? You lost him, and now he's moved on without you. The words sliced through the air, igniting an explosive tension that spread like wildfire, again shifting the gaze of the crowd as conversations turned from jubilant to confrontational. Jake felt his reality shifting, the safety net of his rebuilt life unraveling. Why are you doing this, Clara? Lila shot back, spinning angrily toward the voice, heat in her eyes. Because it's the truth. You think you can just waltz back in and pick up where you left off? You don't get to come back and ruin their lives. The crowd buzzed louder, a clamor of speculation and judgment, all eyes darting back and forth like a dramatic tennis match. Jake stood in shock, caught in a storm of emotions. Did he want Lila back? Did he want to fight for this newfound bond with Alex? As Lila's eyes darted between him and the crowd, and Maria stood at his side, resolute, a flicker of determination ignited within him. Enough, he finally shouted, voice rising. The commotion fell silent, all attention riveted on him. I need to know. I need to know if I have a daughter. The weight of his words settled thick in the air. And in that moment of candor, another gasp echoed, this one laden with anticipation and fear, like a clap of thunder announcing a storm. Jake's heart pounded loudly in silence as he waited for answers that could change everything. What would Lila say? And what would Alex's reaction be? The silence pierced through the crowd like a knife. Everyone held their breath, hanging on the edge of a precipice. Jake felt as if the entire room had shifted, teetering between two worlds. One where he was the father, and the other where he was still just a man lost in a labyrinth of past mistakes. Lila's eyes were wide, flickering between disbelief and fear. Jake, she started but quickly swallowed her words, suppressing the torrent of emotions that threatened to spill over. Alex's gaze darted between the two adults, confusion swirling in her eyes. Is he really my dad? She asked again, her voice quieter, almost fragile. The innocence in her question cut through Jake like an arrow, pinning him to the truth he could no longer deny. The crowd seemed to lean in, breathless, waiting for an answer. The murmurings around Jake swelled, feeding into the uncertainty. What was his next move? Did he even know how to step into this role? Jake took a deep breath, searching for the right words. Yes, Alex, he finally managed, each syllable heavy with emotion. I'm your dad. The confession hung between them, raw and unfiltered. A combination of hope, fear, and regret flooded his heart as he felt part of a new life unraveling before him. Lila's face softened for a split second, and Jake could see her grappling with the weight of what they had lost and the potential of what they might gain. But as quickly as it softened, her gaze hardened again, a protective shield reasserting itself. No, you don't understand. That is not how it works, Jake. Why not? He shot back, his heart racing. Why wouldn't he it? I want to be a part of her life. Clara, still looming on the edge of the crowd, smirked, poised to pounce. She leaned into the tension with a tone laced with delight. Because you don't get to just run back in and play happy family. There are consequences. Can you even take care of her? Jake clenched his fists, feeling the pressure of eyes boring into him, daring him. I will do whatever it takes, he said, voice trembling but resolute. I've built my life back, and I want to build it with both of you. Lila's expression flickered like candlelight before a gust of wind. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. It was as if the very idea of rekindling their connection was too fragile. Alex shuffled her feet, her expression a mix of hope and hesitation. Do I have a family now? Jake turned to her, his heart breaking even more. I want to be your family, Alex. I want to know you. As Jake took a step forward, Lila caught his arm. Her grip was firm yet trembling. Wait, this isn't fair to her, she said, voice barely above a whisper, eyes glimmering with unshed tears. You can't just rush in and pretend everything is fine. The words hung in the air like a bitter mist. In that moment, Jake realized they were now locked in a new battle, one that encompassed not only the revelation of Alex, but also the ancient echoes of his past with Lila. The atmosphere shifted again, bringing the crowd back to life as whispers morphed into loud discussions. Jake looked around at the eyes fixed on him, eyes filled with questions, with judgment, and with hope. They didn't know him, not really. They saw the version of him struggling to understand how to be a dad, to be there for a daughter he just found out existed. He took a breath, knowing he was standing on the precipice of something monumental. I can't change what happened, he said, voice steady. But I want to be here now. I want to figure this out. Alex looked up at him, her eyes wide and a hint of determination sparking within them. Can you help me with my homework? She asked hesitantly, searching for a glimmer of normalcy amid the turmoil. A wave of relief washed over Jake. Here it was an opportunity for connection. Of course I can. As the storm of emotions raged in the background, they momentarily paused to understand each other, the chaos dwindling to a soft hum. But just as hope began to bloom, Clara's voice cut through once more, thrusting a new tension into the room. We all know this one last. He is not the man you think he is, Lila. He never was. Jake's heart sank at the truth laced in her words, but he couldn't let that define him. He turned to face Lila again, searching her face for a sign, a glimmer of belief that they could indeed step forward together. Just then, Alex reached out, taking his hand. Let's just take it one step at a time, she murmured, her youthful innocence bridging the gap between them. But beneath that warmth, Jake felt the weight of Clara's words hanging in the air like thick fog. What would be waiting for them on this uncertain journey? How could he prove himself to both Lila and Alex? Jake's pulse quickened, uncertainty gnawing at him as he pondered the mountain before him. Jake could feel the tension radiating off the crowd, each face a mixture of skepticism, curiosity, and a hint of hope. The whispered conversations swirled around him like an invisible storm, crashing against his resolve. He wondered how many of these onlookers were judging him based on his past. How many viewed him as the enemy instead of a man trying to claim a future with his daughter? Lila's grip on his arm loosened, and there was vulnerability hidden beneath her usually strong facade. I just don't want her to get hurt, she murmured, and Jake could see the worry etched on her face. You walked away once, what is stopping you from doing it again? Jake swallowed hard, recalling those dark days filled with regret. I want to run away again, Lila. Not with her. He could hear desperation creeping into his voice, but pushed it aside. I'm not here to walk out of your life again. I want to be part of it. Alex squeezed his hand tighter, her small fingers wrapping around his like a lifeline. Jake looked down at her and saw that spark of determination mirrored back at him. She was desperate for stability, just like he was desperate to give it to her. We can do this, right? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Absolutely, he said firmly. But deep down, doubt nudged at him. Could he really balance being a father while confronting the shadows of the past? Just then, Clara's mocking tone sliced through the moment like glass. Oh please, Jake. You don't even know how to be a dad. You think it's just about showing up? She scoffed, arms crossed defiantly. The crowd momentarily quieted, locked on Jake's reaction. He inhaled sharply, pushing back the surge of anger she sparked within him. Being a dad isn't just a title, Clara. It's about making a choice every single day. And I choose to be here. The murmurs returned as Clara shrugged dismissively, but Jake saw a flicker of surprise on some faces. Lila's eyes flicked between Jake and Clara, each word hanging in the air, making the space feel heavy. Let her breathe, Clara, Lila shot back, surprising Jake. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about Alex. For the first time since walking in, Jake felt a shred of alliance in Lila's words. It chipped away at the walls that surrounded her heart, and maybe, just maybe, it could pave the way to healing. With the moment shifting, Jake felt a spark of hope. How about we take it one day at a time? he suggested, keeping his gaze steady on Lila. I can't fix everything in one go, but I can show you I'm serious. Alex looked up at him, her eyes wide with curiosity. Can we have ice cream tonight? She chimed in, an innocent glow lighting her face. Laughter escaped Jake before he could stop it. She was so earnest, so childlike in her desire for something so simple. Sure, we can have ice cream. We can start there. The warmth of her smile was infectious, a balm to the tension surrounding them. It felt like for a brief moment, the clouds began to part. Clara rolled her eyes, but Jake didn't pay her any mind. As the tension lessened, the crowd began to buzz. Some faces softened, a few nodded in agreement, as if to say they recognized Jake's effort to change. But as the moment of ease settled over the crowd, Jake felt the tightening grip of anxiety. He wasn't stupid. He knew it wouldn't be this simple. He wondered if this would make things worse with Lila after all. He turned back to Alex, who was still beaming at the prospect of ice cream. What is your favorite flavor? He asked, and as they began chatting, he felt a lightness he hadn't felt in a long time. Yet, as he watched Lila look at Alex, he couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing again. Clara's words echoed in his mind, despite the sweetness in the air. No way could he let his doubts dictate what happened next. He needed to be the man Alex deserved and the father Lila needed. But in that same breath, uncertainty loomed larger. Could a hidden love grow amid the fear and pressure? He realized time was running out, and the real journey was just starting. As laughter faded into background noise, Jake caught Lila's gaze again, searching for assurance. Would she ever truly believe him? And could he finally dismantle the distance built from years of hurt? The answer felt more elusive than he desired. What decisions lay ahead, waiting to be made? And with each step they took together, Jake knew the answers would reveal themselves in ways he couldn't even imagine. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the small gathering. A gentle breeze stirred, carrying with it the fleeting echoes of laughter. Yet, beneath the lightheartedness, Jake felt the weight of the moment settle heavily in his chest. He glanced at Lila, who stood just a step away, her face a mixture of concern and cautious optimism. Let us go get that ice cream, he suggested, breaking the silence that lingered between them. The tension still buzzed around them, clinging like static in the air, but Alex's eager nod and bright smile gave him the push he needed. Strawberry, please, Alex yelled with delight, tugging at Jake's shirt as they began to walk forward. Lila followed closely, her body language still cautious but less rigid than before. As they made their way to the nearby ice cream stand, chatter erupted around them. Some of the crowd dispersed, but a few remained, watching the trio with rapt attention. Clara was among them, her expression a mix of disbelief and stubborn defiance. Jake tried to ignore her, focusing instead on the tiny hand gripping his and the sweet laughter of his daughter. Jake, Lila said softly, pulling him to the side as Alex skipped ahead, glancing back to see if they were catching up. Do you really think you can do this? Be the father she needs? Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the fear she had buried. He met her gaze, holding it steady. I have to believe I can. For her, and for us. Jake reached out, brushing back a loose strand of hair from her face. The touch lingered, and her breath hitched. In that fleeting moment, he saw the flicker of something more than just shared concern. Maybe it was hope. Just promise me you won't make any grand gestures right away, she said, her eyes shining with unshed tears. It'll just make everything harder. I promise, he said earnestly. One step at a time. He could feel the connection deepen, yet uncertainty still hovered between them, like a word left unspoken or a promise unfulfilled. When they arrived at the ice cream stand, the cheerful clerk greeted them with a big smile. Alex beamed as she nodded at her choice. One strawberry, please. Jake ordered a scoop of mint chocolate chip for himself and a vanilla cone for Lila, grasping the cones carefully as they shuffled back to a sun-drenched bench near the park's fountain. The sound of water splashing filled the air, mixing with the distant laughter of children playing. As they settled down, Alex took a huge lick of her ice cream, eyes bright with delight. This is the best day ever, she announced, causing both Lila and Jake to chuckle at her enthusiasm. Let us hope it gets even better, Jake smiled, feeling the warmth of that moment wrap around him. Maybe, just maybe, this was the fresh start he had been longing for. Yet, Even as the sweetness of ice cream melted on their tongues, Jake couldn't shake the looming anxiety. He caught Clara's south eye across the park, her expression feral as she whispered to a friend, the tension radiating from her making it clear that she wouldn't give up so easily. "Everything okay?" Lila asked, noticing his distracted expression. Jake nodded, forcing a confident smile, but the knot in his stomach tightened. He knew that the past wouldn't just dissolve with their ice cream cones. There would be news or actions that would set the crowd ablaze again. "Let us just enjoy this moment," he urged, but inside, the storm was brewing. Could they really build a bridge over the chasm of mistrust? It felt like the weight of the world pressed down on him. As they finished their ice cream, the laughter was infectious, yet Jake felt a sense of foreboding creeping back in. What other challenges lay ahead? Would other voices drown out their retreating fears once they returned to reality? Then Alex tugged on his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, can we take a picture together?" Her innocence illuminated the moment, a stark contrast to the swirling doubts inside Jake. "Of course we can," he said, determinedly pushing aside the chaos in his mind. They quickly gathered together, arms around each other, and posed. Lila's smile lit up the camera, bringing a warmth that banished some of Jake's fears. As the flash went off, Jake felt a newfound determination. They could face whatever challenges arose as a family, maybe even as something more. But when he glanced over his shoulder again, he caught Clara's unwavering gaze, and the storm within him stirred once more. In that precarious balance of hope and uncertainty, Jake wondered just how much he was ready to fight for what mattered most. Even as that flash of resolve sparked within him, one question lingered in the air. Would his past rise to shadow their new beginning, or could love finally emerge victorious in a world filled with doubt? Jake's heart raced, caught in the dizzying swirl of emotions as he watched the ice cream truck retreat into the distance, leaving a trail of laughter and joy behind. He took a deep breath to steady himself, but the echo of Clara's gaze still haunted him. She was a reminder of everything he had tried to leave behind. "Hey, Jake, you in there?" Lila's voice broke through his thoughts, pulling him back to the present. "Yeah, sorry," he replied, forcing a smile as he leaned back against the wooden bench, feigning an air of calm. "Just lost in thought." Lila studied him, a faint crease forming between her brows. "Worried about Clara, aren't you?" He nodded, unable to hide the anxious pulse in his chest. "I can't help but feel she's just waiting for a chance to stir things up again," he confessed, the shadows of his past looming larger in his mind. "Let us not focus on her right now. Let us talk about us," she said, her tone shifting as she leaned closer, her warmth reaching him like the setting sun. "I know it's a lot, but if we're going to do this, if I'm going to be a part of your life and Alex's, we need to be open with each other." Jake swallowed hard, the lump in his throat intensifying. "What do you mean? Are you saying you want to not like that?" Lila cut in quickly, a small laugh escaping her lips, lighting up her eyes. "I just mean I want us to be honest. I want to know your fears, your dreams." He searched her face, the softness of her expression diffusing the storm inside him, if only for a moment. "I want to be a good dad and do right by Alex. I can't fail at that again." As if sensing the gravity of their conversation, Alex returned, ice cream smeared across her cheeks, wearing her happiness like a badge. "Can we go play on the swings next?" Jake's heart melted at her innocent joy. He nodded, unable to resist her excitement. "Sure, let us go." Hand in hand, they made their way to the playground. The sound of laughter filled the air, mixing with the happy shouts of other children, and for a moment, Jake felt a sense of normalcy wash over him. As Alex propelled herself higher on the swing, her delighted giggles floating through the air, Jake looked over at Lila, who stood by the sandbox watching with an affectionate smile. She turned to him, the warmth in her eyes spilling over into the space between them. "See," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You're doing great." He chuckled softly, brushing off the weight of her words as he felt relief. "I hope I can keep it up. Why don't we take some time for ourselves, you and I?" Lila suggested, tilting her head towards the parking lot. "Let us go grab a coffee or something and talk." Jake felt a flutter of anticipation. "Yeah, that sounds nice." As they walked away from the swings, Jake cast a glance back to Alex, making sure she was still wrapped in her world of laughter and carefree play. Just as he turned back, Clara's voice broke through the facade of calmness. You think you can just run away and pretend everything is fine? You don't deserve this. The words sliced through him like a knife, cutting into the fragile moment he was building with Lila. She stiffened beside him, shock evident on her face. Clara, this isn't the time, Jake said, fighting to keep his voice steady. But Clara pressed forward, fueled by anger. What are you going to do when the truth comes out? When she finds out who you really are? You're just a washed-up dad trying to play house. Jake's breath caught in his throat, the accusation reverberating through the heart he was trying so desperately to protect. No, I refuse to let you ruin this, he shouted back, the heat of the moment mixing with fear and determination. Lila's hand found his, the connection grounding him as their gazes met. Stay calm, Jake. We've got this, she whispered, though he could hear the tremor in her voice. With Clara lurking like a storm cloud, Jake felt the challenge settle within him. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and doubt. But could he continue forward with love and resolve in his heart? As the confrontation hung in the air, a question loomed larger than the shadows around them. Would he have the strength to shield his family from the darkness of the past? Or would Clara's words carve away the joy they were building together, leaving only shards of broken dreams behind? Jake felt the weight of Clara's words pressing down on him, heavy and suffocating. He glanced at Lila, who stood beside him with her expression torn between concern and resolve. Could he really protect this fragile happiness they were building? Lila's voice trembled slightly. Just ignore her. We shouldn't let her dictate our lives. Her grip tightened on his hand, and it was as if she was trying to anchor him in the storm. The moment felt suspended, the air thick with tension. Clara's presence felt invasive, a cloud of doubt swirling above them. I'm not going to let her ruin this for us, he breathed out, more to reassure himself than her. You deserve this, Lila said firmly, her gaze steady. You deserve happiness, Jake. Don't let her take that away. In that moment, her words pierced through the fog of fear and uncertainty. For the first time, he saw the possibility of joy without Clara's shadow looming over him, and it was a beautiful sight. Let us just go, Jake said, finally breaking away from the paralysis Clara had instilled. They turned toward the parking lot, ready to make their escape. But as they walked, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was watching, waiting to pounce. When they reached the car, the tension slowly dissipated, replaced with hopeful anticipation. Lila slid into the passenger seat with a smile, her earlier anxiety melting away. See, you're doing it. Taking steps for you and Alex, she encouraged. Jake settled behind the wheel, fists resting on the steering wheel, heart racing. He wanted to believe this moment was the start of something solid. Yet, the shadows of his past were hard to ignore. It's just I never wanted any of this to come back. I thought it was behind me. Maybe it's time to face it, Lila replied, her tone gentle yet firm. You can't run forever, and you don't have to. You have a support system now. He nodded, drawing strength from her words. You're right. With a deep breath, they pulled away from the parking lot, leaving the playground and Clara behind. As they turned onto the main road, excitement bubbled in Jake's chest. They chatted about their favorite coffee spots, laughter spilling out between them, brightening the mood. But moments later, when they reached the cafe, Jake's phone buzzed violently against his thigh. He hesitated, a sinking feeling settling in. Who could it be? He glanced at the screen. It was a message from an unknown number. His thumb hovered over the notification, heart pounding. Jake, it's Clara. We need to talk. I know things you don't. Lila noticed his hesitation, leaning in closer. What is it? Just a message from Clara, he muttered, uncertainty flaring in his chest. Don't answer it, Lila urged, but he could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. I should respond, he murmured, the pull of the unresolved threatening to tip the balance of the moment. Her hand found his again, warm and steady. You have a choice to make. What do you want? As the people inside the cafe bustled around them, Jake felt time slow. Clara's voice echoed in his mind. What should I do? He wondered, feeling a rush of confusion mixed with determination. Could he truly leave the past behind? Or would it continue to haunt him, no matter how far he ran? With the phone still buzzing in his lap, he faced Lila. I have to make a decision, and it starts right now. But would he choose to shield his future? Or engage with the past one more time? Jake took a deep breath, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. The phone buzzed again, demanding his attention but also lifting the curtain on unresolved tensions. As he looked at Lila, sitting beside him, he felt the warmth of her steady presence. It fueled him with a newfound strength. Lila studied him, eyes filled with concern and encouragement. You can't let Clara dictate what happens next. This is your life, Jake. Our life. The sincerity in her voice wrapped around him, casting away the shadows that had plagued his thoughts. He was grateful for her, this strong woman who had stepped into his life unexpectedly, bringing light in the darkest of days. Okay, I want to respond, he decided, turning the phone face down on the center console. He could feel Clara's influence wane as he committed to this choice. I want to focus on what matters. Exactly. Lila smiled, relief flooding through her. She leaned closer, the connection between them deepening. Together they could tackle the world, or at least this moment. As they stepped into the cafe, the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped them. Jake's heart fluttered at the thought of moving forward, one step at a time, away from the chaos. They settled at a cozy corner table and placed their orders, feeling the knots of anxiety loosening with each passing moment. Let us talk about Alex, Lila suggested, her voice opening the door to a future full of potential. She deserves to know her dad, and we need to figure out how we can do that together. Jake smiled, feeling buoyed by her unwavering support. You're right. I want to be the best dad I can be. They mapped out plans for Alex: weekend outings, science projects, family dinners. Each idea marked a new beginning, a way to connect, to show love. Laughter filled the gaps between conversations, weaving together their past and present. I've always wanted a real family, he said, his voice low but filled with hope. Not the kind built on pretenses, but the kind where we can truly share each other's lives. Lila nodded, her enthusiasm contagious. We'll build that together. The three of us can make it happen. As the coffee arrived, steaming and aromatic, another wave of warmth washed over him. In that cafe, surrounded by laughter, he felt the momentum shift, like solid ground underfoot expanding toward an unwavering horizon. Just as they settled deeper into conversation, a sudden burst of commotion erupted from the cafe entrance. Clara stood there, storming in like a whirlwind. Her presence sent a shiver down Jake's spine. Lila stiffened beside him, shock etched on her features. What is she doing here? Jake murmured, his heart thumping in its cage. Clara locked eyes with him, her expression determined and fierce. I came to talk, Jake. And you need to hear this. Her voice cut through the chatter, anchoring everyone's attention. Jake felt the entire cafe's gazes shift to him, tension crackling in the air like electricity. But he stood firm, wanting to protect the newfound peace he had just begun to build. Clara, this isn't the time he started. No, this is the exact time. She interrupted, stepping closer. You think you can just forget the past? There are things you need to know before you dive into being this perfect father you want to be. Lila's hand gripped his tightly. Jake, don't let her overtake this moment. But Jake's heart raced. He was still grappling with risks, and Clara's words felt like a storm gathering. He looked down at Lila, who met his gaze with unwavering support. What do you want from me, Clara? He finally asked, voice steady despite the whirlwind around him. She took a deep breath, and as she shifted her position, Jake could sense the tension behind her facade. I don't want to ruin things, she admitted, a flicker of vulnerability seeping through. I never stopped caring about you. But this isn't just your story anymore. What does that mean? He replied, frustration threading through his voice. Alex, she deserves to know the truth about everything, not just the version you want her to hear. And if you really want to be that kind of dad, you need to do better. Be better for her, Clara said, her words more pronounced this time, shadows of betrayal lingering. Jake locked eyes with Lila, who looked thoughtful but unwavering. You're right, he murmured, acknowledging Clara's challenge. If I'm going to be a father, it's time for both of us to confront the past and move forward, not just avoid it. Lila squeezed his hand, supportive of his decision. I wish I could have spared you this, Clara said, her voice softening. But I needed to come and let you know there are things about Alex's life you don't know yet. Factors that could affect everything. His breath hitched in his throat. What do you mean? Clara deferred her gaze, looking humbled, and for a moment, Jake recognized a flicker of compassion amidst the chaos. I love you, Jake. But it's time to break free from the shadows and face what's real, she said, stepping back slightly. The revelation hung in the air like heavy fog, pushing Jake's heart down into his stomach. Had he been blind to the realities surrounding him? I can't keep pretending that everything is perfect, he said slowly, realization dawning. As they stood wrapped in this turning point, the atmosphere shifted, tension melting into an understanding. Lila stood up, her resolve solid. So let us face it together. Let us be honest with Alex. She needs to know us and everything we're bringing to her life. We'll work through this as a family, she asserted, looking between Jake and Clara, determination blazing in her eyes. Jake saw the truth in her words, the calm at the storm's end. Perhaps it was time for all of them to confront their past together. Are you both willing to do this? He asked, voice resolute. Clara sighed, but there was acceptance in her gaze. Maybe it's what we all need in the end, she replied. Together they faced the uncertainties, but with hope lighting the way. The foundation they built on love would guide them as they ventured into the unknown. In that moment, buoyed by the urgency of truth, Jake realized they were not just mere characters in a complicated love story anymore. Together they would become protagonists of their intricate lives, fighting for that beautiful future that just might finally be within reach. Time was not the enemy, it was the gift driving their togetherness. And moving forward, they had the power to craft an ending worth telling. This is the moment they would choose hope, transforming tangled paths into a vibrant family tapestry. As they stepped outside, the air felt different, lighter, charged with fresh possibility. No more hiding, Jake whispered to himself and to them. The journey was just beginning, but they would face it together, heart and soul. So here's the deal, my friends. If you want to keep witnessing these incredible transformations, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss out. And right now, this is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and let everyone know what you feel about this emotional journey. Going further, don't hold back. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this amazing ending below. I want to hear from you. And please, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired. They deserve to see this transformation as much as you do. Let us keep building together. Don't wait, not even one more second. Your support means everything.